Hi everyone, this is Frank and welcome to my channel. This is the next part in my series of building the base cabinets for my shop. These are the base cabinets for my radial arm saw and also my chop saw, and they're going to use a common fence for the entire length. So this video we're going to cover the cabinet that I'm building for the chop saw. This one is again a critical measure in order to make sure that the top of the chop saw is level to the top of the base of the surface of the radial arm saw. So those are critical measurements, so this cabinet is critical on getting the right height. And again, I'm still using cabinet levelers, which will help me to cheat up. They never let you cheat down. So let's go ahead and start covering what I've done so far in creating this cabinet. Okay, this is the chop saw. This is the Bosch chop saw that I got last year. And I love this saw for its accuracy of cut, but I also love the cantilever action because I can put this chop saw right up against the wall and there's no piston that's protruding that's going to hit the wall. So this is about the closest distance that I can get to a wall and still have that miter saw, the compound miter saw. So anyway, this thing is about 26 3/4 inches wide, which is the width of this cabinet that I'm building. And of course the cabinet is going to be 32 inches deep. Again, it's going to match the depth of this cabinet. This is the radial arm saw cabinet, and this was in the first video. And that's going to be the consistent depth of these cabinets across this entire wall. So here's the framework of the cabinet. There's many different ways that you can build a base cabinet. My goodness, I think there's probably a couple hundred videos out there on YouTube from fellow woodworkers and project engineers that have come up with different ways to do a cabinet. I really don't have a style myself per se. It depends on the application, but I do like using this method Steve Johnson uses of creating that frame internally, so then I can apply the plywood to the frame. I can put my levelers in here as I just did on this cabinet. So that way I can level out the cabinets to the entire wall. I have a toe kick on these cabinets, and my toe kick, because I've got size 13 triple E feet, I go 4 inches deep. Sorry, my finger's not going to show there because I'm in zoom, but this is 4 inches deep. And it's 3.5 inches tall, and that's going to be a perfect toe kick for me. So I've got the sides cut and attached to that framework. The next thing is I've got a shelf that this is going to actually sit in on the bottom. This will sit on top of that frame. I've got my holes already drilled, and those holes are access holes to get to those levelers to level out the cabinet. And then at the top there is going to be a 2x4 frame. Again, some scrap 2x4s put together. Had to plane them a little bit to get some squareness to them. But that frame is going to be going on the top to help carry the load of that chop saw. The rest of my cabinets won't have that internal frame like that. It won't need it because the weight isn't going to be there. But on this cabinet, as well as a radial arm saw, it is definitely going to have a frame here to help hold up that weight so that it doesn't move. Okay, so my next step on this cabinet is to get that shelf put in here, glue it and screw it down. Then I have slots that I cut in to the sides of my plywood here, and this is for a backer, the 1/4 inch backing board. That board that's going to be going here also has a cut in it, and that 2x4 frame I showed you has a 1/4 inch cut in it as well. And this way, this cabinet is completely enclosed so that any sawdust, and you all know sawdust can get everywhere, the sawdust will not be able to travel into the cabinet itself from the back side. So all these cabinets will have a backing board, a 1/4 inch board, to keep the sawdust out of the contents. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this board applied and screwed and glued, and get the 2x4 frame attached to the sides as well. Okay, I finally got the cabinet completed. I'll take the camera off the tripod and kind of walk you around it. But it turned out actually pretty good. The surface to the top of this chop saw is 42 inches, and the surface, the very top of my radial arm saw table is 42 inches. That's higher than normal, but I'm 6'3", so it's actually a little bit better on my back to be able to not have to bend over to go and see where I'm cutting. So this is going to work out really good for me. So now all I have to do is start working on the cabinets that go in between the two, and let me go ahead and show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so here's the chop saw, and there's the cabinet. So again, I made a 2x4 frame to go around to really give some strength for the surface of that cabinet to hold that chop saw. Maybe a little bit overkill, but that's okay. And you can see we've got the toe kick. This is going to be my standard toe kick. Like I said, it's going to be 4 inches deep, 3.5 inches tall, and that provides me with that inside shelf. So that turned out pretty good. So if we take a look from a different angle here, now I've got the chop saw and radial arm saw kind of set up, and since they're at the exact same height, my next thing is to start to build the cabinets in between these two locations. So that's our next step. So some additional work I'm going to end up doing here, and when I put the shop together and ran my Nordfab ducking, I didn't have the exact layout just yet, but that's the good thing about Nordfab. You can pretty much just unclamp each section and move it around the way you want to move it to design whatever you want to design for your shop collection. So I may end up moving the chop saw over a little bit. I know I've got an outlet there, so I'm going to probably put the outlet on the other side. That gives me a good direction to come down and to create some sort of shroud behind this chop saw. And like we all know who have chop saws in a shop, trying to do shop collection on them is very difficult. I'm not going to get too particular and create an entire shroud with plastic in front that makes it hard to see what I'm doing. I'm going to basically just come down with a box, make sure all the sawdust is being kicked out to the back, and I should do probably about an 80% good collection on sawdust at the chop saw. Radial arm is going to be a little bit more challenging. Again, I can go and move this a little bit, and I'll probably end up coming off with another angle to come down onto this side. That's just the way it worked. I initially had planned to put the radial arm saw where the chop saw is and vice versa, but I actually like this setup because most of my wood is onto the left side, so this gives me a larger length to cut longer pieces of wood. So, and I've got a shroud that I've had for a long time that I wanted to put together in the shop. It's made for radial arm saw. And what I may end up doing is trying to take this and fabricate it a little bit differently in order to get really close to that back side. And that may just work out just fine. But right now, my goal is to get these doggone cabinets built, make a torsion box that goes between these two and set it up. And I plan to put a T-track in that torsion box so that I can have a fence that I can move if I need to move, and that I'm able to square up perfectly to either one of these saws. So that's our next step, and that's going to be the next video. So thanks for watching this video. This is a series of videos on the build of the cabinets along my shop. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and you'll be notified of additional videos that get uploaded to my site. Thanks again for visiting. My name is Frank. This is Frank's Wood Designs, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.